Hey everybody, so today what I wanted to do was take an in-depth look at the Wacom Cintiq Pro 16. I know I did a review on it earlier, but I really only scratched the surface on how this device works on different software packages as well as how it works within different operating systems. So I'll be showing you how it works in zBrush, Photoshop, and Clip Studio, as well as how it works differently within Windows and the new Mac update OS X 10 Sierra. So we're going to hop right into it. I'll show you my setup first, but then we'll just be focusing on the Cintiq for the rest of the video, and I'll be showing you general performance of the device. Alright, so what I'm using here is a MacBook Pro 2016. It's USB-C compatible and alternate display port compatible, so that means that it will work without the Wacom link. And here is the Mobile Studio Pro 16. I've got it hooked up through power and then directly to my MacBook Pro 2016. Now what I have here is the stand I use for my Cintiq. It's the Artistful Freestyle stand. I got it on Amazon for about 50 bucks. And it works well. I mean, it holds the Cintiq up, which is about all I could ask for, and it does different angles. But there is a small issue with it, not the stand itself, but with the Cintiq. The intake fans for the ventilation are covered halfway by this stand. So as you can see on the back here, it pulls in air through those two big vents and it pushes it out at the top. Now, since it only covers half of it, I don't think it's causing a problem. I've had it on pretty long and it hasn't gotten too hot on me yet. But just be mindful, if you are using a stand that covers the entire back of the device, you are losing the outtake fans or the intake fans. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so here I am on my MacBook Pro 2016. I'm running Boot Camp on it, and I am on my Mobile Studio Pro 16 right here. So just to get things started, there is a reason why I'm using Windows initially and not Mac, and it's because there are several issues in Mac that I'll be going over a little bit later, but I'm just going to show you how the device works on Windows initially and how happy I am with this device when it works. So to get things started, just look at the parallax. Hopefully you can see this. The mouse on the left side of the screen is nudged right under the tip of the cursor. Pretty exactly where you'd expect it to be, honestly. As I move to the center, it's in the exact same spot, and as I move all the way over to the right side of the screen, it's in the exact same spot. No matter where I move the mouse on the screen, it goes in that exact same spot. There is zero parallax as far as I'm concerned, and it is much improved over the Mobile Studio Pro 16, which did have a bit of drift. It would sort of move away from the cursor as you got more to the left or the right side or the center of the screen. So that's great that they fixed that. Another great thing about this is that they also fixed the sort of sticking cursor issue in the Mobile Studio Pro 16, as if you were in hover cursor mode and you would move the mouse around, I'm going to move it way too far away for it to go. And the Mobile Studio Pro would do this even when the mouse cursor was right up near it. It would see how it jumped from that spot to that spot. Now that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the Mobile Studio Pro would kind of get stuck when you had it in hover cursor mode, and if you move it slowly, it would kind of jump to the next point. On this, follows it perfectly, doesn't jump at all, it works great. So let's hop to a program here and I'll show you how Clip Studio Paint works. So I'll start off with the pencil really quickly just to show how the latency is on something like this. The resolution on this canvas is 1080p, just so everyone will know. And here is a line really quickly. I'll do a pressure line as I go along. And it's pretty quick. Obviously, they advertise there is virtually zero lag or whatever they say. Obviously, this is not nudged right under there and there is a little bit of lag, but this is not enough to ruin the flow of anyone's work or anything like that. I'll bring the brush size up just a little bit, show you a larger line, and there you go, you can see that. And the texture on the screen feels really good, honestly. I can't complain about that at all. And then we'll hop over to the pen. It doesn't feel like paper, by the way. I said this in one of my older Mobile Studio Pro reviews. It doesn't feel like paper. It feels like you're drawing on a screen, but it doesn't feel bad at all. It's got a nice tooth to it and it's got a nice texture to it, something I really appreciate. So here is me drawing with the G pen. This will have a little more latency because this has a little bit more of a smoothing algorithm into it. But as you can see, pressure really feels good, very responsive. Nice straight lines when I do them quickly. I feel like this works very well. And I really don't have any complaints about this as far as just the working ability of the hardware or how it works within Clip Studio Paint. There's not too much I can do to really show off, but I will do a quick test with a ruler just to know. I hear that they have issues with slow moving diagonal lines and everything like that, so I'll give that a quick test. I'll grab a ruler and we'll do that. Okay, fast forwarding a little bit, here I am with my ruler, and let's go in and just draw a diagonal line. You can see this hopefully. Here we go. Now there is a little bit of, jitteriness and waviness to it. It's not really lining up perfectly, but I'm also moving the ruler a little bit too. But there is a little bit of jitter on there. It's nothing super noticeable, but here I'll go into touch gestures, by the way. I usually just shut these off when I have the hotkey set up properly. Here's how they work. I just did a pinch to zoom, that didn't work that time, but just to get an idea of the waviness. So you can see this doesn't look perfectly straight when we zoom in onto it a little bit. It's a little jittery, but this is really drawing. This is a problem with any drawing device on any computer, that the lines don't really come out super accurately when you're doing a slow diagonal line. Now if I do it a little bit faster, I'm sure we won't have that problem at all though. Oh, there goes my cursor. Who knows where that went? Yeah, it's back. Okay. So this is a real-time demo here. That's probably because my finger was touching the screen through the ruler, which caused that issue. So here's a quick line. As you can see, the quicker lines don't really have that jitteriness that the slower lines just had. I wish that worked a little bit better, but you're seeing how this works. So there's just a quick comparison of the slow lines and the quick lines, and I'll just do a straight line really quick just to show you how that works as well. This is me just doing my best, freehand to draw a straight line. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. I'll do a diagonal line too, pretty slowly. All in all, not perfect. Maybe my hand was a little unsteady, but at the same time it wasn't as unsteady, I don't think, as these lines will represent. But this is something you're going to get on any Wacom product or any product you use on drawing. It just has to do with the way the screen draws, I guess. I'll do it with a pen too, just to show you the darker pencil. And here I will show Photoshop very quickly. I'll just do a couple lines similar to what I did in Clip Studio. So I'll do a diagonal line pretty slowly. And as you can see, there's a little bit of wobble still. Let's see if the touch gestures work any better. So my hand wasn't perfectly straight, but it wasn't that wobbly when I did that. So just keep that in mind. I'll do some quick lines too, just to show you though. If I can get this perfect. Good enough, I suppose. Do some quick lines. So those are pretty good. If I do a straight line down, not exactly the most perfect straight line, but I'll do it right here. I have a little bit more stability. And that looks pretty good, honestly. My hand wasn't super steady, but not too bad. So that's really all you're going to get out of me in Photoshop. It works well. The latency isn't too bad. Obviously, it's more dependent on the computer than the device itself. But this is really what you're going to get. I'll make a very large brush stroke just to show you what it would look like. But the pressure works well, the responsiveness as well, and I really don't have any complaints about this. So on to zBrush. Alright, and lastly for Windows, here we are in zBrush. The performance, is really more based on the computer than the tablet itself. But as far as the accuracy goes and everything like that, it feels pretty much perfect. You don't need to be as accurate as you would be in Photoshop with the diagonal lines and everything like that, since you're doing a little bit more of sculpting than you are anything else. So there's not too much to really go over with this. So I think I'm going to be wrapping things up as far as Windows goes, but I will go over a couple more things just before we move on. And I guess it's important to, a question I get a lot is, how is the heat up here? I've had this on for probably about an hour now, and if I had to say, I could rest my palm on this and I could feel fine. The two heat spots are right here and right here. This is also where the two fans are. Let me just shut that off. So the fans kind of blow the air out back here, intake back there, as I said earlier. It gets a little hot right in those two spots. Your hand doesn't rest there, first of all, but second of all, it's not so hot that it's really interrupting anything either. So yeah, I really think that that's it as far as Windows goes. But if you have any other questions about it, just let me know and I'll get right into that. But yeah, here's my little creepy guy right there. Let's hop into Mac. Okay, so here we are on Mac with the Sierra update. I know it's confusing because I have the same background on both my operating systems. This is Mac with the Sierra update. And this is also the newest Wacom update as well. The one that should have fixed the wobbly, wavy, jittery lines. So, just initially, the first thing I noticed when using this on an OS X operating system, I hope it's called OS X, I'm honestly not sure, but the cursor is jittering. I'm just moving in a straight line and I can see, I'm not sure if you can see that as well. I'll get it a little bit closer. Hold on. Okay, so even before I hop into any software, here is me just drawing a line straight up. Now, as I draw the line straight up, you see the cursor moving left and right really quickly, like it's hopping around kind of sporadically right now. This is something that 100% does not happen in Windows. Now, this is probably one of the issues everyone was complaining about most. Not even in software, and I'm already kind of noticing the cursor is jumping around a little sporadically. Now, this is weird, but you can also, so I'll boot up a piece of software right now. Let's see what I have on my Mac partition. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so here I am in Clip Studio Paint with the pencil. I'll bring it up to 20 just to really show what I'm talking about, and I'll do a very straight line, and I'll do it very slowly. So as I draw this line, you're going to notice something kind of weird about it. Alright, so that was a straight line. Now let me do a diagonal one. Now this is probably a lot slower than anyone that is a human being would ever draw a line. And I'll do some quicker ones under this as well. But yeah, so let's do some quick lines now. And now, let's see if the gestures work. So, yeah, they do. Okay, so let's try and move this over. Maybe that doesn't work. Okay, we can only pinch, I guess. So, this line initially, let me just try and get a little bit. Okay, so here we are zoomed in. As you can see on the very slow lines I drew, especially on the one that went up and down, you're going to notice that it's got a little jitter on it. It's poking out on the left side. Now, this is only for very, very slow lines that this happens. So is this actually a practical issue that people are going to run into? Well, maybe if you draw super slow lines, this will be something that you kind of run into. But you know, when you draw a diagonal line, just like you do on Windows, let's see if I can get out of this. I cannot stand touch. I'm turning that off right now. So as I do a line, I'm using the G pen here, so it does have a bit of a smoothing algorithm in it. But I'm going at a bit faster speed than I went before. But as you can see, it's basically exactly the same that it was on Windows when you're not going super duper slow. So yeah, it's not a perfectly straight line. But I'm going to jump out of this for now because that's all there really is to talk about as far as differences go in Mac. Okay, so that's really it. Yeah, I do prefer to use Boot Camp because I can use Windows and I don't have to worry about those jittery lines. Also, I kind of had a couple issues I went over prior in my review about getting the proper resolution set up and a few other things. So for now I'm going to stick in Windows, but if they do get the jittery lines fixed as far as Sierra goes, I would prefer to stay in Mac. But as it stands now, that those small things that may or may not really affect a full-fledged drawing bother me enough to stick inside Windows. So that's all there is for this comparison. Hopefully this was in depth enough for people who are looking for a few more answers on things, but that's all I have to say. Thanks everyone.